now, a conference like this, we couldn't put it on without the help from our partners and our sponsors. So I'd like to introduce one of our platinum sponsors, which is Accenture. So please welcome to the stage Aidan Quilligan, who is the global lead for Accenture's Industry X.0 practice. Aidan?
Well, good morning, everybody, and it's a great pleasure to be here with you in Las Vegas. I listened to Florence earlier, and as she addressed you in her native language, I thought, well, maybe I'll do the same. But I'm from Ireland, and I don't know how many of you will be native Irish speakers, so maybe I'll leave that idea to one side. So I lead an organization in Accenture called Industry X.0, and this is our business unit working with our clients in the area of what we call the digital reinvention of industry. And what's happening is these digital technologies enter the very core of industry, by which we mean the way the world's products and services are conceived, engineered, produced, and then operated. And I don't need to explain to this audience the myriad of technologies that are driving that change. Again, the list was mentioned earlier on. IoT, artificial intelligence, robotics, cobotics, AR, VR, 3DP, the list goes on and on. But many, many technologies. But of course, this is not a technology challenge alone, because a lot of the fundamentals of this are about how value is shifting, how hardware in many ways is becoming a container for the software, and the value very much lies in the experience. So these are fundamental challenges for companies in this space to address that go well beyond technology. So over the next few minutes, I'm going to cover firstly a little bit more about how we think about Industry X.0, a couple of companies that have really embraced this innovation challenge, and then what we're seeing separate the winners and those reaping the rewards from those that are still quite frustrated with what they're seeing come out the other side from their digital transformations. So let me start with Industry X.0, and in a very complex world, I like to try and simplify this down to what companies need to do and look at two dimensions of the challenge. Firstly, what we talk about is below the line, the transformation of the core, or doing today's business better, faster, cheaper, leading to acceleration and efficiencies. And one of the reasons we call it X.0 rather than 4.0 is because sometimes people never really escape from that domain of what happens in manufacturing and in efficiency. And very often that is where the story starts, because there's not many companies out there who've got billions of dollars sitting on side looking for somewhere to be invested. So many of these journeys do start with, how do we transform the core? How do we free up some of the investment to put above the line, which is where the innovation and the growth happens, the new products, the new services, the new experience that companies can go and find and innovate in order to drive the top lines. And of course, this vision is very consistent with how Dassault Systèmes also talk about it and see it through their suite of products. So the 3DEXPERIENCE platform, of course, helps transform the core, puts in place the digital twin, the digital thread, and that's also then the platform on which the products and the experiences can be built. So as we talk about the economy of experiences, the Internet of experience, these are terms that resonate very well with how Accenture views the world. Now let's talk about a couple of companies that have done just that. Firstly, taking a company that has reinvented its current product. And I thought I'd bring a little bit of France to a US event and talk about Faurecia. Now Faurecia, as many of you will know, is a tier 1 provider of car interiors to the automotive industry. I think if we're honest, the interiors of cars have not really moved on very much in the last number of decades. A lot of the innovation in auto, of course, has been into the engines and the chassis. But now Faurecia are looking to put software, personalization, experience, slap bang in the middle of the car cockpit. And you can see here some of the innovations coming out of their connected car labs that they have. In fact, the one that you see here was on display at the CES show in Vegas here earlier this year. And you can see things like software, media coming to the fore, and you can also see personalization. So up to now, personalization has largely been about how you set your buttons, or maybe what temperature you try and get the two sides of the car to be, which, given that everybody's breathing the same air, has never really worked for me. But in the Alexa-powered cockpit here, there's a sound bubble created around each individual that allows them to have a totally personalized interaction with Alexa and on deep integration into the car systems. And for Frisia, this is not just an experiment or a prototype. They currently generate about 1.5 billion out of these kind of services, and that's targeted to rise to about 8 billion by 2025. So very significant key success factor for the business as it looks ahead into the future years. So that's reinventing a product that already exists. Let's look at maybe what happens when you go and create a new product line. Now, it's a bit early in the day to be talking about cocktails, but I'm sure many of you will have had a coffee this morning. I actually noticed in my own room, Keurig was the machine that was there for me to kick myself into gear first thing. And Keurig decided they'd look at how to innovate and take those same concepts but create a new product line, and they came up with the DrinkWorks Home Bar. So this works very much around the same principles, but it's a vastly more complex undertaking, creating the cocktail of your choice. So there's still capsules for a gin and tonic or a mojito or whatever your choice is, but there's more that goes into it around temperature, around ice. And it's not just the device itself, it's also about the ecosystem, the app that goes with it, and all of the intelligence that sits behind it. So this is a major new departure for them. It's already sold out. In fact, we've been given a few devices to demonstrate in various places, and they always seem to go missing, not our people. But obviously people can't wait to get their hands on a cocktail maker of their own. So it's always very interesting to hear when you come to these conferences about these great success stories after a lot of the hard work is done. So one of the things that we wanted to do a few months back before Hannover Messe was to check out how the industry as a whole is faring with this digital reinvention of industry. So we undertook a survey of over 1,300 of our clients. Actually, not just our clients, but also companies that are not, global, multi-industry. And here's what we found. Now, the first of these findings, 100% companies investing in innovation, may strike you as yeah, well, it would be that, wouldn't it? But actually, it's not that long since that number was down in the 70s, creeping into the 80s and 90s, and now 100%. So all companies that we surveyed now recognize they have to innovate, they cannot wait. So that's progress. When it came to scaling the proof of concepts and the experiments that have been undertaking, results got a bit mixed. So a lot of companies finding that they weren't actually getting that POC out of the lab into the field, but it was when you started looking at the results achieved that there was a real polarization between the winners, or the champions as we call them, and the companies getting frustrated. So only 22% of companies were actually seeing the benefits coming out the other side. And of course, we drilled into, well, what is it that these companies are doing differently to the rest that's leading them to that level of success? And we found three things. Firstly, defining the value from the digital transformations. Now, again, that may sound pretty obvious, but I'm always amazed when I go to companies and I see the scattering of digital initiatives right across the company, and a lack of clarity as to which ones are the most important. So really understanding, not with precision, but the area where the value is going to come from is one key success factor. The second is driving organizational change. Today's organization is rarely, if any, the one that is going to deliver on the future promise. And thirdly, building innovation factories, multidisciplinary teams from across the companies, from the outside, from the ecosystem, and putting all of those people, all of those actors under a coordinated program. They were the 3 success factors that we found for companies that were actually seeing success and results come out the other side. So if you'd like to learn more, please feel free to stop by. We have the detail of that research that we undertook available, and we've also got a book called Reinventing the Product, authored by some of my colleagues. So we will be delighted to see you, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your time here in Vegas. Thank you.